The sun sank low over the wide plains of Montana, painting the sky in gold and rose. Dust swirled lazily around Jack Callahan's boots as he leaned against the rail of the small train station. He'd spent the last 6 years alone on his ranch, Callahan Creek, raising cattle and fixing fences, with only the wind for company. He wasn't a man of many words, but the nights had gotten too quiet. So, after months of hesitation, he'd done something he never thought he would. He'd written to a mail-order bride agency in St. Louis. Her name was Abigail Carter, or at least, that's what her letters said. Sweet handwriting, kind words, and dreams of the West. Jack had read her letters so many times that he knew every loop and curve of her pen. The train whistle echoed through the valley. Jack straightened, brushing the dust off his shirt, his heart beating faster than it had in years. The wagon rolled up to the station, carrying passengers through the last stretch. And when the door opened, his jaw nearly dropped. 2 young women stepped down, both with chestnut hair, same green eyes, and the same dimple when they smiled. "Mr. Callahan?" one asked, tilting her head. Jack blinked. I was expecting one bride." The other twin smiled. "Well, sir, you got 2 of us instead." The station fell silent except for the wind and the distant call of a hawk. Jack had no idea what kind of trouble he'd just invited into his life. Jack Callahan didn't remember the ride back to his ranch. His mind was spinning faster than a dust devil. 2 brides. Identical twins. They sat side by side in the wagon, whispering and giggling like the whole thing was a fine joke. He glanced at them, both wearing plain blue dresses, same freckles across their noses, and both answering to Miss Carter. He finally cleared his throat. "All right, which one of you wrote me those letters?" The twin on the left smiled sweetly. "That'd be me, sir, Abigail." But before he could relax, the other one said, "She's lying, Mr. Callahan. I'm Abigail. She just likes teasing men." Jack nearly pulled on the reins. "You're tellin' me there ain't no way to tell who's who?" The girls looked at each other, grinning. "Maybe if you spend enough time with us, you'll figure it out," one said. By the time they reached Callahan Creek, the cowboy's patience was running thinner than his last fence post. He showed them the small cabin he'd fixed up, neat, clean, with flowers on the porch. "I wrote for one wife," he said, rubbing his temples. "And I sure don't know how the law sees this." One of the twins stepped closer, eyes soft. "You asked for love, Mr. Callahan. Maybe love came in double." That night, under the wide Montana sky, Jack sat by the fire alone, thinking about how a simple dream for companionship had turned into the most confusing situation of his life. He didn't know who was the real Abigail. But he was starting to suspect both women were hiding something. The next few days at Callahan Creek Ranch were unlike anything Jack had ever known. The twins, Abigail and her sister Annie, as he eventually learned, moved through his world like 2 whirlwinds of laughter, curiosity, and mischief. They cooked, cleaned, and rode horses as if they'd been born for the West. But they never quite stopped confusing him. He'd wake up to one of them humming by the stove, turn around, and find her outside saddling a horse. He couldn't tell if it was Abigail or Annie, or if he was simply losing his mind. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Jack found Abigail, or who he thought was Abigail, sitting by the creek. She looked troubled, her hands clasped tightly. "You're quiet tonight," he said, sitting beside her. She glanced at him, then looked away. "There's something you should know, Mr. Callahan. We didn't mean to deceive you, not truly." Jack's heart tightened. "Then why the letters? Why 2 of you?" Before she could answer, her sister's voice called from the cabin. "Abby! Supper's ready." The girl beside him stood, brushing her dress. "I'll tell you soon," she whispered. "Just, not tonight." That night, as Jack watched the twins whisper by the firelight, a strange unease settled in his chest. They were kind, hard-working, and full of life, but something didn't fit. Their eyes carried a story he hadn't been told yet. And the letters he'd kept folded in his pocket. He was starting to think they weren't written by the woman he thought they were. 2 weeks passed, and the mystery only deepened. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that the Carter twins were hiding more than just a playful secret. One stormy night, as rain pounded on the tin roof of the cabin, he finally decided to confront them. The fire crackled while lightning flashed through the window, and both sisters sat across from him, quiet, their identical faces unreadable. "All right," Jack said, his tone firm. "No more games. One of you wrote those letters. One of you I promised to marry. I need to know who she is, and what's really going on here." The twins exchanged a look. Then Abigail stood, tears glistening in her eyes. "It was me who wrote to you, Jack," she said softly. "But I wasn't the one who was supposed to come." Jack frowned. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, voice trembling. "It was Annie's name on the papers. She was the one meant to marry you. But when she got cold feet, I took her place. I thought I could make things right, that you'd never know." Annie's eyes flashed. "That's not true. You took my letters, Abby. You wanted him for yourself." Jack rose to his feet, staring between them, his heart pounding. "So you both lied to me?" Neither answered. The only sound was the rain and the slow tick of the clock. He walked toward the door, gripping his hat. "I asked for honesty, not trickery. I don't care which one of you's Abigail or Annie. But tomorrow, one of you's leaving this ranch." He stepped out into the storm, his boots sinking into the mud. Behind him, 2 sisters stood in silence, one crying, the other trembling, as the firelight flickered between truth and regret. The storm rolled away by morning, leaving the sky washed clean and the air heavy with the smell of wet earth. Jack Callahan hadn't slept. He'd spent the night in the barn, watching the sunrise spill gold over the prairie, thinking about every word the twins had said. When he finally stepped back toward the cabin, both sisters were waiting by the porch, their faces pale but calm. Abigail spoke first. "We were wrong to come this way, Jack. We thought, maybe we could start over. The truth is, our father passed last winter. We had no home left. The agency mixed our letters by mistake, and when you wrote back, we both saw a chance for a better life." Annie stepped forward. "But only Abby loved you before she ever met you. I just wanted a way out." Jack looked at them both, 2 faces that mirrored each other perfectly, but hearts that couldn't have been more different. He reached into his coat and pulled out the old, folded letter, the one that had first brought him hope. "I reckon I don't care which name was on this," he said quietly. "All I know is, these words made a lonely man believe in something again." He turned to Abigail. "And I can tell now, they came from you." Abigail's eyes widened, tears welling. "Jack." He smiled faintly. "If you'll have me still, no more secrets, no more lies, I'd be proud to make you my wife." Annie lowered her gaze, then gave a small, trembling nod. "You two deserve each other," she whispered. "I'll head east. Maybe find my own truth somewhere else." By noon, the wagon rolled away down the dirt road, carrying Annie toward a new beginning. And as the sun rose high over Callahan Creek, Jack and Abigail stood hand in hand on the porch, 2 souls who'd finally found what they'd both been searching for: honesty, love, and a home worth keeping. The cowboy had waited for one bride. And in the end, found the one woman who was truly meant to stay.